The 12 best things that you can do to fight climate change. That's what we're talking about today. My name is Eugene, and this is Verdant Growth. Climate change is staring us all in the face. It's no longer a future threat to our planet that we're gonna have to worry about 20 to 30 years from now. It's here right now. Wildfires, unprecedented hurricanes, severe drought, species extinction, melting ice caps, rising oceans. At this point, we have all felt climate change to some degree. To slow climate change, it's going to take a lot of changing the way that we all live our lives every day. Especially in developed countries like America and China. Worldwide, Americans are the highest per capita emitters of greenhouse gases. So, almost more than anyone else, it is our responsibility to make sure that we are reducing our emissions as much as we possibly can. Some might argue that compared to all the emissions that are put out by these large industries, then our individual contributions is so small that they just don't matter, so why should we even try? But it's not just these big industries that are the problem. The industries just go where the money goes, and the money comes from us, consumers. By changing our lives and by changing our own standards, the companies will understand that yes, we want change. We want products that are more environmentally friendly. We want electricity that's produced more sustainably. And if they're not willing to change, then we're not gonna pay for it. And trust me, if you tell them that, they're gonna start changing their tune really fast. So don't wait for other people to change. Don't wait for governments and industries to change. The change needs to come from us, just as much as it should come from them. So today we're gonna be talking about the 12 most effective things that you can do on a personal level to fight climate change. Number 1, drive less. According to the EPA, in the US, transportation makes up about 28% of our greenhouse gas emissions. That's almost 1/3 of all the US's emissions. Any reduction in driving that you can do can be really helpful in reducing that greenhouse gas. A lot of people are even switching over to EVs these days, which have a much lower level of greenhouse gas emissions. But even those, for the most part, are still being charged by burning fossil fuels. So even the EVs aren't completely safe from greenhouse gas emissions. Whenever you can, go car-free, ride a bike, or carpool. Maybe wait till after the pandemic is over to carpool, but eventually, we want to get back to carpooling. Also, ride public transportation when possible. Buses and trains emit a lot less greenhouse gases for the amount of people that they transport. So the more people that we can get on trains, the better. Just make sure that you're wearing a mask when you get on them and kind of do your social distancing thing. Number 2, eat less meat or no meat. The agriculture industry here in the United States creates about 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So, if we can reduce the amount of meat we eat, specifically beef, then we can really reduce our personal greenhouse gas emissions. You don't even have to go full vegetarian or vegan. If you can just cut your meat consumption in half, that would be a huge help to the amount of carbon dioxide and methane that's emitted. Try just reducing the amount that you eat at each meal. Or have a few days a week where you just don't eat meat. Another option could be just not eating meat at all at lunchtime. There's a lot of ways to reduce your meat consumption without going vegetarian or vegan. So give it a shot. Number 3, get your energy from clean sources. Let's be honest, the bulk of America's emissions come from power generation. We use fossil fuels to power our cars, but also our homes. We're still at a point in time when most of our electricity is powered by burning coal, so that means that even our electricity at home is technically creating carbon emissions. So, if you own a home and you can afford to get some solar panels, do that. Solar panels these days have become a lot cheaper. They're really affordable to put on your house. And depending on where you live, most solar systems will end up paying for themselves within about 10 years. After which, those solar panels can be producing electricity that it sells back to the grid, and those solar panels can actually make you money. If you don't own your own home, then try contacting your local utility. Ask whether you can opt in for special green pricing, where they charge you a little bit more in exchange for all of your electricity being produced by renewable energy sources. This also adds a little bit of pressure to your electric utility to add a little bit more renewable to the grid. Number 4, stop flying or fly less. Airplanes produce a lot of carbon emissions. Globally, the aviation industry is responsible for about 2% of all carbon emissions. That's a pretty big number. One trip from Los Angeles to San Francisco actually emits about 118 kilograms of carbon dioxide into the air. That's a lot of carbon for just one short flight. There are some countries where the average person doesn't emit that much carbon into the air in a full year. By eliminating flights that are short, like ones within your state or even within your country, you can really reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that gets put into the air. Try turning your next vacation into a road trip. It's going to be much better to go by car than it is by plane. Sure, it's going to take a little bit longer, but I don't know about you guys, but in my case, my family road trips are some of the best memories I have. If flying really is unavoidable, you can at least purchase carbon offsets. Carbon offsets basically mean that you're paying someone else to take care of that carbon that you emitted into the atmosphere, either by planting trees or planting seaweed or capturing it through carbon capture technology. Number 5, shop locally sourced in season. It's amazing how much supermarkets these days stock products from all over the world. Fruits from South America, vegetables from China, snacks produced in Mexico. Our supermarkets are full of products that have been shipped from all over the world. The good thing about it is that we can get pretty much whatever we want, whenever we want. But unfortunately, the downside is that anytime you're having to ship things across countries or across borders, it usually means that you're shipping them via refrigerated planes or refrigerated ships or refrigerated trucks, all of which have huge carbon emissions. So as much as possible, try to buy things that were locally sourced, that haven't traveled so far. Buying things in season also means that you're probably buying something that didn't come from a totally different climate as your own, meaning they probably didn't come so far. Number 6, save energy. This one's easy. Turn down your thermostat in the winter, turn up your thermostat in the summer, and just turn off lights and things whenever you're not using them. By reducing the amount of electricity you use, you reduce the amount of greenhouse gases you emit. You can even replace some of the things in your house, like your light bulbs with LED light bulbs, your thermostat with a smart thermostat. All of these things are going to help you save money on your electric bill. Number 7, buy less. Everything you buy is made somewhere, and anything that's made pretty much is going to have a carbon footprint. Making and selling things requires materials, resources, electricity, transportation, packaging. All of those things mean more and more carbon emissions. So if you reduce the amount you buy, you reduce the amount of impact on the environment. Number 8. Plant a tree to absorb CO2. This is a simple and fun way that you can reduce your impact. Trees are made mostly out of carbon from the atmosphere. So when you plant a tree, as it grows bigger, it's literally just pulling carbon dioxide out of the air. Big trees can store tons of carbon. So that means you could potentially offset your own carbon emissions by just planting a tree that grows really big. Number 9, start a garden. Starting a garden is great for the same reason that buying locally sourced produce is. The travel distance is really small. So that means that there's no trucks transporting vegetables across the country. You're literally just pulling them out of your backyard. Producing food right where it's consumed is the best possible way to go for the environment. Not to mention, your foods are going to be fresher, tastier, and you're not going to be spending as much money on your food bill. Talk with your neighbors. You might even be able to start a community garden in the neighborhood. That way, everybody chips in and everybody benefits. Number 10, donate to a cause that's fighting climate change. Too busy to get out there and plant trees for yourself? That's okay. There are a bunch of organizations out there that are doing that for us. But be careful. Some of those charities out there are a little bit shadier than I'd like them to be. So make sure that you thoroughly check to be sure that they're really doing what they say they're doing. Vox actually has a great list that was really thoroughly vetted, and I'll link it down below. So put your money to good use fighting climate change. Number 11. Vote. This one has been said for so long and it's just been repeated so many times that it's almost cliche. But it's the way our country works. We tell our government what we want by voting. It's slow, it's inefficient, but it's one of the best ways to get things done that we have. So what are you waiting for? Register to vote, do your research to find out about your candidates, and then get out there to the ballot box. Number 12. Get active. Join the movement. There are so many organizations out there these days that are dedicated to fighting climate change and showing the government that there are many of us out there. Whether it's organizing demonstrations, fighting for political change, or just doing volunteer work, there are a ton of groups out there working to fight for the environment. Find one in your local community and start getting active. Fighting climate change is hard. Recently, there's so much doom and gloom about it, but the good news is that we're always moving forward. We're always getting better. This year, we installed more renewable energy ever than before. Solar and wind continues to get cheaper, and for the first time ever, both solar and wind became cheaper than fossil fuels for producing electricity. There is no stopping renewable energy, and it's going to help us in the fight against climate change. But the other piece of the puzzle is that we, the individuals, also have to change how we live our lives to improve the environment and to become better stewards of the planet that we live on. We will win the fight against climate change. It's just a matter of how soon we do so and how soon we can get more people to change their lives. One last thing that you can do is you can go out right now and download the Earth Hero app on your phone. It's an app that shows you your personal carbon emissions based on some questions that it asks you when you first open it. And then after that, it gives you some tips or some goals on how you can reduce your carbon emissions. And as you guys can see, if you just click down here, My Progress, here is the average American's carbon emissions. This is the global average. And this is mine right here. So you can see that my carbon emissions are lower than most Americans, but it's still much higher than the global average. So I still have some work to do, but that's okay. That's why I can just click this Actions button at the bottom here, and it'll tell you all the different things that you can do to reduce your carbon footprint. If you find a challenge that you're interested in taking on, you can either add it to your goals, or if it's something you already do, you can hit the Already Do It button and it'll recalculate your carbon footprint. It's an awesome app to really help you track how much carbon you emit in your life. It kind of turns reducing your carbon footprint into a fun game that I'm personally trying to get as low of a score on as I can. So be sure you go out there and get that app. So what did you guys think? Was this list complete? Is this a good set of things that you can do to reduce your carbon footprint? Do you have any more ideas? If you do, comment them down below. Be sure to also hit the like and the subscribe button because that really helps me to grow my channel. I really appreciate it. Be sure to share this video as much as you can to get everybody to reduce our carbon footprints. And thank you guys so much for watching. Eugene and Verdant Growth, out. So I'm sure you guys noticed that starting in the last episode, the entire background of my wall has changed. I'm still in the same room, I'm just on the opposite side. Before I was filming from that side, which has a white wall, but I decided that that white wall might have just been a little bit too bright, so I decided to flip the camera around, switch to this desk, and use this wall as my background, which is a little bit more flowery and textured, but it's also a little darker, so the camera seems to be able to adjust to the light better. You also might have noticed from the last video that I got a new mic. I'm so excited about this mic. You guys are probably gonna hear some loud bumping and things, but I got this new Blue Nano. It was actually a birthday present from my lovely wife, Saya. These things are awesome, and this thing has improved the sound quality of my YouTube so much. It's so much better now. The things are improving. I'm doing better, darn it. I'm doing better. Yes, fine, keep going, make more videos. You can do it, Eugene, just